Hope you're having a great day. Let's get going on those top stories I was just telling you about. Make sure the audio levels are A-OK before I play them for you. Everything looks good to go. All right, this first one is about whether or not there's any correlation between marijuana use and the risk of stroke.
With legalization of marijuana occurring globally, we are now finding that there are certain pros and cons with the widespread use of marijuana. In a new study, researchers found that there may be an increased risk of stroke in certain individuals. Now, this was not a cause and effect finding, but there was an association, and they looked at millions of users. Now, the bottom line here, folks, is I'm all for the use of medicinal marijuana. I think it is an important part of our armamentarium against disease. However, if you have risk factors for stroke or you've had a stroke, you may want to think twice about using marijuana. We don't really know why this is. It may be some inflammatory markers. It may be some other entities in marijuana that is causing this. But until we figure it out, you might want to avoid it if you're at high risk. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox News medical team.
All right, and I did just find out that one story that I had for you. Mike already showed you the business briefs with Tracy Carrasco talking about Twitter getting rid of that like heart. For those of you who saw it, let me know your thoughts on it, but I won't replay it again. I just didn't know we showed it. My bad. Okay, this next top story I have for you. Deaf scientists making a difference in the workplace. Fox 10 Phoenix's very own Anita Roman with the story.
Natalie Alloway is a forensic scientist, a crime lab worker in the Drug and Toxicology Department at the Arizona Department of Public Safety. She helps test evidence. Alloway is also deaf.
In school, everybody knew exactly what to do with a deaf student. That path was kind of paved for me. But going into the workforce, a lot of companies didn't know what to do with a deaf employee. So it was difficult to secure a job. It was difficult to be asked for interviews.
Alloway attended Gallaudet University in Washington, D.C., which she describes as the first and only post-secondary school for deaf and hard-of-hearing individuals. She graduated with a degree in chemistry and then went on to get her master's in forensic science. In 2012, she was hired on with DPS.
I tend to not tell companies or hiring entities that I'm deaf until I actually secure that job interview. Once I do that, once I get the job interview, then I contact their HR department and I tell them that I'm going to need an interpreter for the job interview.
Alloway learned early on that finding gainful employment is not always easy for a person with a disability. She's thankful for agencies like the Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, which was established in 1977.
For example, with DPS, when they are ready to hire a deaf person, they contact our office, and in the event that they don't know how to successfully onboard a new deaf employee, they'll bring us in to make sure that it is a deaf-friendly environment.
And the environment here in the lab is one that has allowed Alloway to succeed, like she hopes all others with disabilities can do as well. Anita Roman, Fox 10 News.
All right, Anita, thanks so much for that top story, this Tuesday edition of News Now. Next, I have for you the straight ticket voting. I told you earlier, Texas is one of 8 states that currently allows it. What impact might it have on the election next week? Can you believe it? A week away from Election Day. Let's find out.
Enthusiasm is high this election cycle, and vulnerable candidates in Texas may be hoping to ride this momentum to win, thanks to straight ticket voting.
All of the Republican candidates tend to do well, or all of the Democratic candidates tend to do well. So it's a very majoritarian system.
Texas is one of 8 states that allow voters to choose all candidates of a party with a single ballot mark. Senator Ted Cruz is hoping for victory in a race some say should have never been this close. Polls show he maintains single-digit leads over his Democratic challenger, Congressman Beto O'Rourke. Now, straight-ticket voting could give the Republican incumbent a boost thanks to the popularity of supporters like Governor Greg Abbott.
Abbott is focused on supporting the entire Republican ticket and encouraging straight-ticket voting, which means that if Cruz wins by a very small number, say 2, 3, 4, 5%, he will, in many respects, owe his re-election to Governor Greg Abbott.
Likewise, the energy surrounding Cruz and O'Rourke could help candidates down the ballot, especially those in judicial races.
And what you have is the Beto O'Rourke kind of as an umbrella, talking to all of those grassroots activists who they need to get out to vote when that local congressional race or that local state rep race may not have the finances to actually go out and ask that person to show up and vote.
They really rely on what is happening at the top of the ticket, and if their party's doing well, then they're gonna do well.
More than 60% of Texans vote straight ticket. However, some early voters complained that when they chose that option last week, the machines flipped their votes. State officials blamed user error. Regardless, experts say the practice benefits Republicans overall.
The big thing in the Senate race between O'Rourke and Cruz is turnout, and Republicans have done a better job in Texas, and that's why it's still a red state.
But it could spell trouble for candidates in counties where Democrats are leading.
In places like Harris County, there are going to be a lot of voters come out to vote for O'Rourke, and that may hurt some lower ballot incumbents, Republican incumbents.
Straight ticket voting in Texas ends in 2020, which its defenders say could lead to longer lines and hurt turnout. In Houston, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
All right, everybody. I'm going to ask for some emojis, appropriate ones, that is. Anybody out there eat organic fruits and vegetables either as often as they can or pretty much all the time? Organic, is that your fruit and veggie of choice? Because this next top story I have for you, the last one for this edition, is about whether or not that choice can actually help you live longer.
We've all heard that eating fruits and vegetables is absolutely the way to go. That's why I consume blueberries every single day. Now, a new study found that if you purchase organic fruits and vegetables, you actually will have a reduction and reduced risk in developing certain kinds of cancer, mainly breast cancer, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Now, if you are out there listening, I don't want you to stop eating fruits and vegetables altogether. What you need to do is, if you can, go organic. If you do that, you're going to reduce your exposure to pesticides and other forms of environmental chemicals that may be responsible for this reduction in cancer. I'm Dr. Mike Sirigliano with the Fox News Medical Team.